Hello, you beautiful people. Aaron here, back with another video. Now, you may be wondering why I sound a bit different. That is because I am sick. I am still recovering. I don't know what it was. I don't care to know. All I know is that I'm getting better. But I wanted to do a banner video because they recently announced the banners. And so that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna try and keep it short because I believe that the last one was a bit too long. And I also don't want to strain my voice because, I'm still sick. So, normal things like comment, eat the subscribe button. I don't know what it tastes like today, so I'll leave that up to you. Comment what cookie flavor that subscribe button is today. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into the banners, and I'm gonna be talking kind of in depth despite me trying to not speak too much. So oh my god, my voice, I'm dying. Anyways, let's get into it. Let's start with the character banners and the newest character, Dehya. Now, for all those who don't know, Dehya is one of the worst characters in Genshin. Just straight up. I'm not joking. The talk of the town is that Dehya is a 3-star unit instead of 5-star. Why is that? Well, I have a video on the entire topic already on my channel, and I cover all of the issues there. So if you are curious for more of an in-depth explanation as to why she's so bad, you can watch my video. You could also watch some of Jeff's stuff on her because he made a lot of content on her, or you could just look it up yourself because there's a lot of content out there as to why she's bad. But to keep it simple, Dehya is extremely weak because her damage numbers are absurdly low, her pyro application is infrequent, her uptime is poor, her burst cost is high, her supportive capabilities are lackluster, and she cannot serve as a battery for herself or teammates. She has even more issues like the fact that she is a pyro character who can utilize Xiangling or Yaoyao, so she has to rely specifically on Mona to deal any sort of damage. Another thing is her supportive protector ability is only functional with both of her ascension passives while still allowing your team to die. And while it is the strongest damage mitigation in the game, the other characters have other ways to help sustain their team. Her mitigation ability is so weak that it is only usable in Melt-Gone U teams as a replacement for Xiangling. She's weak and absurdly lackluster all around, as almost no team wants to make use of the weak utility she provides. She has almost nothing going for her other than the fact that this is around the same time that they released Yaoyao, who ended up getting a fantastic buff after the next region came out. The same thing can happen to Dehya upon the release of Fontaine. However, due to Dehya being on the standard banner starting in a later patch, I doubt that Dehya will ever get a substantial buff when the new region is released. However, her constellations are good and provide her with some great damage increases, so while the first Dehya you might get might feel really bad, the second one is going to be enough of a damage increase to make her usable, though still not too good. However, when she is at C6, you do have a pretty strong C0 Hu Tao level damage dealer, which is always a plus. Now onto the second limited 5-star, Cyno, aka one of the most regretted characters people have ever pulled for. Why is that? Well, Cyno has a bunch of issues, and keep in mind that all of this is coming from a Cyno enjoyer, so I might have a bias, but I do enjoy Cyno and I use him quite a bit. Despite being a pretty decent electro character who can be used in aggravate team comps, Cyno struggles with dealing more damage than Kaching. On top of that, he has a much higher energy cost for his burst and lower numbers. Cyno is also very inconvenient to play as he wants to be in his burst for 18 seconds, which his best supports cannot support. This usually leads to a shorter uptime when using Cyno on field than you might want, which can lead to an awkward feeling when using him. With this in mind, he generally falls far behind Kaching and Yaoyao in terms of flexibility and damage output in aggravate teams. However, because of the elemental mastery he gets in his burst along with the fast-hitting wide-range attacks that he has, he generally works really well in quick bloom teams with a slow hydro applicator along with a strong and persistent dendro applicator. His fast, wide AoE attacks guarantee that Cyno will be the one to proc the hyper bloom reactions, even with another electro unit like Fishlore or Kuki. These quick bloom teams will generally do more for Cyno as he will still be able to act as a hyper bloom driver without removing the quicken aura for him to deal damage. Because he is able to proc the hyper bloom reaction so consistently and effectively, he is a pretty strong unit, but with a lot of downsides. His large energy requirement, lack of supports, low personal damage, need for specific units, and odd optimal combo makes Cyno a very awkward character to use. His worst offender is that he does not have a really strong support for him to utilize effectively, except for Nahida, but she is inconsistent with him due to the loss of dendro application for Cyno in most multi-wave content. There's also the fact that he is very replaceable by Kuching and Yaimiko for Aggravate, Yaimiko for Quick Bloom, and Kuki Shinobu or Raiden Shogun for Hyperbloom teams, making him less worth it in the long term. If you want him, get him. But he's going to feel a bit underwhelming, and that's coming from a fellow Cyno enjoyer, like I said before. However, because this is his first rerun, some people might be thinking about getting constellations on him, and I have to say, his constellations do very little for his entire damage output, especially in Quick Bloom teams. If you're looking for a good all-around damage increase for his Quick Bloom team, then the best constellation that you're looking for is Nahida's second constellation. Otherwise, just don't look at it. If you already have it and you still want to get more of a damage increase on him, then go for that, but Nahida C2 is just so broken. Now onto the 4 stars of the character banner. Let's start with the best and then go to the worst. The first is Bennett, who, while might have fallen off in versatility somewhat due to other characters not scaling with the buffs he provides, he is still absurdly strong to this day. While other characters might have taken his job in certain niches, pairing those characters along with Bennett allows their main DPS to hit like an absolute truck, because the other support provides buffs other than what Bennett provides. Not only that, but on the release of Sumeru, he obtained a new best 4-star weapon that is also free-to-play friendly. He is also still every attack scaling DPS character's favorite support, as he can buff, battery, and heal all of those characters. He is so notoriously good at this that Hoyoverse has been trying to give him competition in so many specific niches where most of them are better than him, but only when they're at C6. But that buffing competition is only part of what he can do, as he also heals a crap ton, which only Mika and C4 Goro can do, but they have such extreme niches that it makes sense as to why they'd just be Bennett but better in their situations. The point is, Bennett is still a monster and still one of the best units in the game. There's a reason as to why National never fell off, and he's that reason. Now on to Barbara. Barbara has always been talked negatively about because all she offers is healing and stun locking. No, not stun locking the enemy, she stun locks you. Wild concept, I know, but that's all she really does. So why is she not the worst character on the banner? Well, that's simply because she's a decent free-to-play Bloom enabler, but that's kind of it. Barbara has seen a decent amount of relevance in Fridge teams consisting of Dendro, Cryo, and Hydro to create Blooms and stunlock units. This team comp can also flex into a Hyper Fridge team when paired with an Electro unit. The damage these comps output is quite good and very safe to use, except against bosses that can't be frozen. Even then, Barbara can be used to face tank a lot of content while still enabling a lot of damage from Blooms and Hyper Blooms to occur. She could also be used in free-to-play Nilo teams, which is very nice too. However, she is extremely replaceable, as any other Hydra character can do what she does except better, and they're much more versatile too. On to Collei, who is very difficult to manage despite being such a strong element. Collei is pretty bad, as she only offers Dendro application, and it's not even good Dendro application. Her skill can hit an enemy twice and apply Dendro for each hit, which is good. The issue is that its hitbox is very weird and will lead you to missing the attack despite the game having lock-on. She also has a sprout mechanic that allows her to apply 1 extra source of Dendro with her skill, or 2 at C2. Her burst does not have good Dendro application though, as it has a no-hit number on its ICD. Instead, it has only a normal ICD time of 3 seconds. However, she did used to have a niche in having the strongest AoE on-field Dendro application before Alhaitham, Nahida, and Yaoyao came into existence. This is because she has a lot of sources of Dendro, especially with Sacrificial Bow, and everything has short durations. However, she took some of the worst advice from Amber and offers nothing else, so she now also relies on Elegy for the end to be a character. All around, the character banners are just major skip. They're terrible, they're pretty bad, unless you like someone specifically or you're very new to the game and you want like a Bennett, then just don't pull on these banners. And even if you are new and you're looking for a Bennett, just wait in the shop. He'll be available for pretty cheap. It's fine. Now onto the real highlight of this banner set, the weapon banner. Let's start with Beacon of the Reed Sea. This weapon is Day's signature weapon, and it's pretty freaking cracked. The Beacon of the Reed Sea is essentially a more consistent version of Wolf's Gravestone and the Unforged. Those weapons offer an insane attack increase, but at the cost of not offering anything else, so they work best when used with characters who have a lot of percent multipliers who scale with attack like like Eula, Beto, and D-Luke. Or I guess not D-Luke, but whatever. While these weapons may be absurdly strong on these characters, they don't hold up very well when used with the rest of the cast of Claymore users. And now there's Beacon of the Reed Sea, which gets rid of its attack substat with a crit one, allowing for more consistent damage. On top of that, the passive is pretty easy and consistent to get the most out of too, as all it requires is an elemental skill and to get hit by an attack for that easy 40% attack increase. Then there's the final part of the passive that increases HP percent while not protected by a shield, making it great for characters that want a skill with HP percent like Dory. On top of this, because it's not going full into attack like the other two weapons, this one can also be used on characters that want other stats like EM and defense. This weapon is the strongest and most versatile weapon option for claymores out there. The issue is there aren't many good claymore users to use the weapon. This usually means that the weapon banner is a 100% skip, but the issue with this weapon is that it may never come back again since Dehya is going to the standard banner. The only other character that has undergone the same treatment as Dehya is Tignari, who had his Hunter's Path weapon on his weapon banner, which was never added to the standard banner. With no idea of when or how they are going to bring Hunter's Path back into the game, we can only assume that it might never come back. The same can be said for this weapon. While this does seem like a major downside, just remember that the best claymore users we have mostly scale with attack, so Wolf's Gravestone and the Enforged from the normal banners will do just fine. Staff of Scarlet Sands is the other weapon option on the banner. This weapon is very strong, especially for Cyno, but it is generally on par with Primordial Jade Wing Spear. However, because it has a huge crit rate bonus, it becomes generally better and more versatile than Jade Winged Spear. Characters who can use this weapon absurdly effectively are Xiangling, Rosaria, Hu Tao, Aggravate, Raiden, and Cyno himself. However, 3 of these characters use their burst more than anything else, which makes the catch a much more valuable option. On the other hand, Jade Wing is extremely useful in characters like Raiden, Cyno, and Xiao, which is a smaller group of characters. This weapon is also not the best in slot weapon for any of these characters too, while the other 2 characters have some of the strongest weapons in the game. So should you actually pull for the Staff of Scarlet Sands? Well, no, not really. The Staff of Scarlet Sands, while it is a very strong stat stick and has some guaranteed future relevance due to the stats it provides, falls behind other weapons including the Staff of Homa and Engulfing Lightning. Both of these weapons excel in their field and versatility while also being pretty power creep proof. That took me like 5 takes to say. Pretty power creep proof. That's hard. Staff of Scarlet Sands focuses more on versatility due to its high crit rate value and synergy with elemental reactions, but it always falls behind the other 2 weapons in terms of strength other than on Cyno himself. On top of that, in a lot of situations where Staff of Scarlet Sands is usable, Primordial Jade Wing Spear will be about equal in power. So while it is a pretty strong weapon, the Staff of Scarlet Sands is not a very good weapon to waste fates on. Instead, use them for Homa, which is just a better, more versatile damage weapon. Now onto the 4 stars, and again, we'll be going from best to worst. Dragon's Bane I covered in my last video on the upcoming banners, so I'll keep it short here. This weapon is crazy. It's a fantastic option for Hyperbloom Raiden, Candace, Yaoyao, and Nilo teams, Toma, Xiangling, Hu Tao, and Reverse Belt Rosaria. This weapon is phenomenal and versatile. It's awesome, so if you don't have it and want one of the 5 stars, then you're in luck. Next up is Alley Hunter. The Alley Hunter is one of the best weapons on this banner. The weapon comes with a good base attack with an attack percent substat and a major percent damage bonus that increases when off field. It's similar to a 4-star bow version of Calamity Queller, and it's a very good and versatile weapon option. Because the passive decreases slowly when on field, it can still be used by main DPS characters. So while this weapon does look a bit niche, it's actually a lot better than it may appear. Turns out to be a very good option for Official, Faruzan, Tignari, and Kujasara. It is okay on Tartaglia, Ganyu, and Yoimiya if you lack better options. Now on to its sister weapon, the Alley Flash. The Alley Flash is theoretically a good weapon, but with horrendous downsides. Alley Flash comes with a very high base attack, a small elemental mastery boost, and a passive effect that increases damage dealt, but this passive disappears upon taking damage. The easiest way to combat this effect is by using a shielder or putting this weapon on a sub DPS. This weapon also has a small elemental mastery substat, which is pretty good for those who want to use elemental reactions. However, even if you are able to find a character that this weapon would be viable on, there are multiple other weapons that are so much better. So while this weapon is not bad, it's not worth pulling. Now onto Sacrificial Greatsword. This weapon is part of a pretty good weapon series. However, it comes at the downside of needing a character with a multi-hit skill and energy issues. The only Claymore character in the game at the moment that fits these requirements is Dory, which makes this weapon not useful as Dory is not a good character. And that's all I have to say about the Sacrificial Greatsword. Now, finally, the worst weapon on the banner, Eye of Perception. It has a poor base attack with a good attack percent and a horrendous passive with very little uptime time that requires multiple enemies to get the most out of. It is by far one of the worst weapons that could go onto the weapon banner. It bogs down this banner so much. The weapon banner, unlike the character banners, is actually pretty good, as it has very strong and very versatile weapon options available. It has the best, most versatile claymore. It has one of the best damaging polearms in the game. It has one of the best 4-star polearms in the game. It has a pretty good bow, but then the rest are just kind of poop. Instead of pulling for any character that is available, I would suggest you pull for a weapon, despite the weapon banners being pretty much a scam. However, despite me saying that, I also think that it's probably just better for you to wait. You know, there's Ayaka and Shenhe coming out, and Ayaka's weapon is debatably the best sword in the game. I think it's second best because Jade Cutter is a lot more versatile, but it usually edges out in terms of DPS on every other character, so it's really good. It's really good. And then Ayaka is also just absurdly good. So is Shenhe. Shenhe's weapon is pretty bad and either requires Zhao or Shenhe's first constellation in order to be usable. But other than that, I would save, honestly. And we're getting Baiju, who is most likely going to be a Dendro healer, so, you know, keep that in mind. Anyway, that's all I have to say for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Apologies for sounding like poop, but I mean, like, I'm sick and they did the banner thing today, so, you know, we do what we gotta do. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye.